小时以外是我的自由。
这种话像咱们无产阶级说的吗？小韩，参加工作了要关心集体呀！你这种态度像个工人吗？
Hey wife, I want to spend all day doing nothing and playing with the boys. Will you allow that to happen?
Over-the-top made-up scenarios, unbearable high-pitched voices, and a destruction of culture. These are CCP operas, not just any operas. They were the only ones available during the Cultural Revolution. Hence, they were called the revolutionary operas, or model operas. You know how these performances are supposed to portray how beautiful the lives of farmers were in China, when in fact, they were actually starving at the time.
道高一尺，魔高一丈。
Why are you consuming that bourgeois content when we could all be proletariats?
Aside from the overall awkward expressions on their faces and dialogues that just doesn't make sense,
伟大领袖毛主席教导我们，中国人死都不怕，还怕困难吗？
我们什么都不怕，我们是共产党员，我们是中国人民解放军，
我们是共青团员，
我们是贫下中农，
praising Chairman Mao in every third sentence was essentially the nature of these revolutionary operas. And your constant need to remind yourself that this is not the horror genre.
看看中国人民的力量。
Like I mentioned, they were also called model operas. Sounds kind of inspiring, right? Until you hear that the reason they were called model operas was because, well, part of it is they were mandatory viewings because essentially at the time they weren't showing any other sort of entertainment and you could only see these in theaters or on stage. But this was everywhere. It was in schools, it was on television, it was in the radio, so you could not avoid it. Even if you were not forced to watch them, well, you had nothing else. And of course, if you dare to criticize them at the time, that could land you in a struggle session. Think of all of the North Korean videos you've seen, how bizarre it is in the Hermit Kingdom. Well, that was what was on display in Chinese performance. Now, all of these took place during the Cultural Revolution, which ran from 1966 to 76, which was when Mao died. But these clips have become this new internet sensation on Chinese social media for some of the reasons being that it was just so outrageously bizarre of a period that was back in China, and people started to make memes out of this. This was one of the most famous now, or the most viral, and she just marches in with full-on energy, which is being made fun of, like, who actually has that kind of energy? This is obviously brainwashing.
爷爷，趁这阵子过江的人少，快回家吃饭吧，我来替您。
你还是没经过风雨的小样儿呢。
我才不是小样儿呢，我是。您往天上看。
哦，要做雄鹰啊！年岁小，志气高，好，好，好。
She then goes on to defeat this nationalist spy in what essentially is a staged dance sequence. So as you can see, a lot of this is taking traditional Chinese culture, performance genres like Peking opera, classical Chinese dance, turning them communist. But my favorite one has to be this one.
同志们，我踩着地雷了，我现在开始排雷。
I love the comments. This one says, anti-Japanese bizarre dramas cannot satisfy me anymore. I just like this kind of stuff now. It really hits the spot. This one says, comrade, don't be afraid. The landmine is flying.
同志们，我踩着地雷了，我现在开始排雷。同志们，
我踩着地雷了。
好，好，好。
This one says, "Comrade, let me drill oil for you." This one says, "Tomorrow, this is how I'll say hi to my coworkers." This one says, "Enemy, so dramatic?" That's why they're the leader, not you. If fake enthusiasm and high school drama classes had a baby named Chairman Mao, that's basically these model propaganda operas.
Comrades, I've stepped on a landmine. I've now begun to demine.
The objective reason why their heads suddenly turn, their voices are really high pitched, and their movements are greatly exaggerated is because on stage, was a lot of these actors and actresses where they come from is staged Peking opera. They don't have mics, so they have to make everything loud and make everything high so that people, in the audience can hear them. But then when you, especially in the later days, turn them into movies, that's why you get these awkward head changes and weird dialogues. Not only that, it was directly aimed at brainwashing people. And so the kids who were born in the 70s, a lot of them can remember most of the dialogues in these stage plays. So the saying at the time was 8 operas for 800 million Chinese people. These include 5 revolutionary Peking operas, 2 revolutionary ballets, and a symphony adapted from one of the so-called Peking operas. And model work was essentially referred to as controlled and directly in charge, written from the top of the CCP and through the propaganda system. So what everybody around the country did when these performance troops would go on to do their performance of one of the 8 is essentially it was like 100% copy, word for word, of the script, of the camera, the directions, and dialogues and dances and everything. The irony at the time was that Zhang, who was Mao's wife, Madame Mao, what she did was she didn't like all of the entertainment at the time, which like operas or dances. She said it was too bourgeois, and she wanted to turn it into a proletariat entertainment. But as we all know, entertainment, when it's sophisticated in its essence, is a higher version of life, and essentially it's a performance. When you take out the beauty of it, leaving what essentially is just a skeletal behind, you lose the sense of that artistry. But it didn't matter to Zhang Qing. All she wanted was to make it revolutionary. So she turned everything into Red Guards, into communist soldiers, etc. And so it wasn't like anybody really wanted to watch them, but it was more like it was forced upon them. And this is quite typical throughout any of the scripts, which is there are happy peasants, there's revolutionary heroes, and they even try to make feminism seem cool in that period, except here's the catch, right? In the Red Detachment Woman, it's about peasant girls who pick up rifles and overthrow the bad guys. That sounds like female empowerment, except at the end, guess who has to come in and save the day? Chairman Mao, because of his guidance. So it's like, is that real feminism if at the end of the day, you need a man to come and be your guidance? So that was the same message, which boils down behind every single one of these plays or movies, is that Chairman Mao comes, saves the day, and everybody must have a little red book, which is like their Bible. Like I said, it was brainwashing because during this time, it was millions of people being purged, people dying from hunger, and just in general, it was the darkest period of the CCP history, one of them. And meanwhile, they're trying to make a musical about it. It's like if they did a Broadway dance performance during the Great Depression and called that a solution. The end of Zhang Qing, Madame Mao, was that after the Cultural Revolution ended, she was tried as one of the members of the Gang of Four, which was directly responsible for the Cultural Revolution. And the operas seem to have faded away, except now it's making a return in a very satirical sort of viewing experience. All right, I hope you enjoyed today's video on China's model opera propaganda. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. All right, until next time, bye-bye.